Hey everyone, it's Sevy, and I'm back with more Floor 12 Spiral Abyss clears, this time with no limitations on my team and character selection. If you're looking for my video with 4-star only runs and general tips for the chambers, I'll leave my most recent guide linked in the description. Here, I'll mainly be featuring different team comps that I've been thinking about but required 5 stars and teams that were commonly recommended from my previous video's comments. But before that, in case you're sick of Spiral Abyss, there's an upcoming game you can totally check out. Have you ever wanted to experience an epic Arthurian fantasy with gacha? Well, this video is sponsored by King Arthur Legends Rise, an upcoming turn-based squad RPG game from Kabam that throws you into the reimagined Arthurian world of knights, warriors, and monsters. Experience the epic power of Excalibur. With it in your hands, you'll be able to claim your throne and restore your kingdom to its former glory as you progress through your journey in the game. From there, you'll meet a variety of rogues, mages, knights, and more that you can collect, upgrade, and equip for battle. These characters of course come with their own backstories and combat skills to help you conquer monsters. Along the way, discover legendary weapons, also known as relics, that will give you more variety in your character's combat abilities to win battles. With the right teams and builds, you can take your squad's power to a whole new level. There's lots more waiting to be discovered in King Arthur Legends Rise, coming with cross-platform gameplay for mobile and PC. Pre-registration is now available and you can already wishlist it on Steam too. Thank you Kabam for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Starting with the first half, it's not that restrictive, so a lot of team variations are very possible here, and I don't feel the need to really experiment that much. Some might have a slight advantage, like a quicken team to disable the chicken, but that's something you can just solve with enough damage. Aside from quicken teams, common meta teams that are preferably good in multi-target scenarios will be really strong. National is a classic, Taser works too when I tried it, probably well-invested teams like Mono Geo and Hyper Raiden should as well. So basically, tried and tested team formulas are simply going to be good here. I still wanted to stick to my Quicken team, and I think this is a good place for me to have fun with Yae, so I'll showcase 3 different types of Aggravate and Quickbloom teams for the first half. Her spread teams would of course be good too, with Yae taking more of an off-field role, but keep in mind that the Chicken and Dendro consecrated beasts are quite resistant to Dendro damage, so it might feel slower if you're focused on Dendro damage. It's something you can definitely brute force if your Dendro units have enough DPS though. So without further ado, here's my first half run medley with different Yae teams, right here, right now.
Right now, emerge, right here.
Hey! Sharing my knowledge!
Nothing lasts forever. Right now, emerge. To ashes! No, my sword! Let me weave you a birth.
Everyone hold hands! The Temple of Wisdom!
Right now. Right here. A sight to behold. Emerge. Right here. Right now.
By royal decree! Animal test 6308! Enhanced animal module 75!
Absorption. A sight to behold. Emerge. Right now. Emerge.
Go away! You away!
As you wish, me.
Animal test 63...
Right now. Emerge.
Stand clear!
Nothing lasts forever. Right now. Emerge. Right now.
Into the wind.
The doctor was sealed!
Nothing lasts forever. Emerge. Right now.
Fallen leaves. Adorn my... Remember, health comes first.
Midnight Fin!
Right here. Emerge.
The doctor was sealed! I
Right here. I'm always watching. Right now.
Mind the side effects.
By royal
Right here.
One with nature, as one with wind and cloud.
Taking a turn for the better.
The doctor was sealed! Shadow Raven!
Emerge. Right now. Emerge. A sight to behold. Ha! Right here. Emerge.
A bitter pill to swallow.
Wind strike.
Right here.
Fallen leaves. Adorn my nut.
The second half is where things get interesting, and I had to get a bit more creative with unconventional team archetypes, as I'm sure many of you had to as well, due to the elemental requirements needed. My typical advice is to use different teams in different chambers if it's too hard to come up with one team that can effectively plow through all the chambers, but that's what I wanted to accomplish. So what are some teams I found to be quite effective? I first wanted to try another 4-star template, being Heizou National. In the first chamber, Bennett and Xiangling were doing a good job against the cryo shields, but the Hydro shield was a challenge, as expected, so it was the last left on the field. It's possible to swirl the cryo and Hydro shields into each other to freeze the Hydro Herald, but it's very tricky and can come with some complications. But in the end, with enough pyro application and swirls, it went down too. I encountered a similar issue against the Baptist later on, but it was doable. Essentially, if you're looking for another 4-star template to complete Abyss, National plus an Animo is still a reliable team. This can of course be accomplished with Sucrose too, but in case you need her for the first half, I just wanted to show that Heizou is a viable alternative. And a heads up that I found yet another all 4-star National variant to successfully run this half, which I'll show you in a later section. Moving on to teams with 5-star characters. Since shield breaking was the main hurdle, I stuck to units that could give consistent elemental application. One such team is the Sunfire comp with Jean and Bennett, where their bursts can apply Animo and Pyro on the active character, causing it to constantly do Pyro swirls, which also have no ICD. This is an incredibly effective combo against the Cryo Heralds, because the Pyro swirls will quickly deplete their Cryo shields, more so if combined with another strong Pyro applicator like I did with Xiangling. In this team, Rosaria is there to take care of the Hydro Herald, which is a Sunfire Melt variation, but it's had many variations already, like Sunfire Raiden and more recently Sunfire Burgeon. So if you are having a hard time with the Herald Chamber, bringing in Sunfire could be a quick, effective solution. Just take note that it's a circle impact team and that Jean can get a bit energy hungry. Burgeon teams are a common recommendation for the second half too, and it's no surprise why. To create a Burgeon comp, you need Dendro, Hydro, and Pyro as the core units. Dendro is the best counter to Hydro shields, while Pyro counters Cryo shields, and Hydro shields to a lesser extent, which are all present in the first and third chambers. More so, the common Hydro pick will be Xingqiu, and on top of his Hydro application, his damage reduction effect gives a lot of comfort. I do think this is best executed with Nahida, which is not to say that other Dendro units can't do the job, but Nahida is Nahida, and I've found my runs with her to be consistently and noticeably faster compared to other options. The most common Burgeon trigger to pop up will be Toma, which is no surprise, but to mix things up, I'll focus more on other Burgeon team types. A very accessible variant is Dendro National, which just needs the classic National core. In Chamber 1, Nahida's mark was so convenient against the Hydrolector because even if you don't necessarily focus fire on him, his shield just gets shredded over time by the Dendro application proccing, while Bennett and Xiangling's Pyro application makes easy work of the Cryo Heralds. In Chamber 3, breaking the shields was a seamless process thanks to the persistent elemental applications, so I could focus more on outputting a lot of damage in its broken state. I also realized that I should have optimized my EM stats more on Xiangling so that the Burgeons would have been stronger, but still, even without doing that, it was already sufficient and resulted in a good run.
Let's light it up!
Going in! Yes! Rain outlines your fate.
You're toast!
So I tried to see if using Collei as my Dendro unit would be serviceable, and it actually was. As long as I timed her skill and burst to hit the Hydro shields, she was able to help with shield breaking and produce some Burgeons along the way too. The tricky part in the first chamber is the circle impact, because I wanted to maximize her burst Dendro application onto the Hydro Herald, but if he decides to move out, that significantly impacts my run. But with the Baptist, since he doesn't move, it's way easier to ensure her burst fully hits when his Hydro shield goes up.
Let's light it up! Going in!
Rain cutter.
Go!
Let me weave you a...
Turning on-field pyro units into Burgeon triggers is also a thing, specifically Hu Tao and Diluc. The principle is the same, where you use pyro-infused attacks and their pyro abilities to trigger the cores. For this I'll show Diluc, aptly named Retriburgeon. Note too that my Bennett is C6, so for this I didn't have to stress much over using Diluc's burst to get the normal attack pyro infusion, which made things a bit more convenient and rotations more flexible.
Let me weave you a...
This may hurt a little.
Lay waste to the wicked!
Committed to memory. The Temple of Wisdom.
Let's light it up! Teamwork is stiff! No, my sword! Rain cutter!
Flames, purge!
This may hurt a little.
One more sin on your soul. The road to redemption.
Committed to memory.
I mentioned Sunfire Burgeon earlier too, so here's one using Jean, Bennett, Nahida, and Xingqiu. Jean is going to be the main trigger for Burgeon, so it's important to stack EM on her, and preferably to get her to level 90. This performed as well as expected, and the double healing can make this feel more comfortable compared to the previous Burgeon teams.
Lines your fate. Witness the power. Going in! Let's light it up! Barbados, guide us.
Grow, grow, grow.
Be still.
Let's light it up!
Make yourselves at home.
Let me weave you a burst. Everybody stand back! Wind, hear me!
This may hurt a little.
Sin, one more sin upon your soul. The road to redemption.
Okay, so for my last team showcase, I can't believe I'm doing this, but in hindsight, this team was the most fun and craziest that I used. I was actually shocked. This is none other than the infamous Thundering Furry, which centers around an EM-built Razor, C6 Bennett, plus a Dendro and Heizou applicator. Those who know are familiar with how insanely good this team can be, and it works wonders for the second half all throughout the chambers. To those who might be encountering this monstrosity for the first time, you'll notice that so many reactions are triggering simultaneously. That's because this team mixes in so many elemental reactions. It generates cores, which Razor, with his electro application and pyro-infused normal attacks, can trigger both Hyperbloom and Burgeon on. But Overload, Aggravate, Electro Charge, Spread, and Vaporize reactions are also thrown into the mix. All in all, you get this flurry of damage and reactions with this pretty Unga Bunga playstyle as well. I know Razor is not a unit I generally recommend for players to prioritize, but if there ever was one team that he's broken in, it's this one. Essentially, this was my favorite team to use for the second half. And that's it for this Abyss video. I actually had some fun trying to determine what different comps and reactions I could use for the second half given its elemental restrictions. But let me know in the comments what teams you tried and how your Abyss runs went. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all soon. Take care!